I love great conversations. Hi, my name is Angel Jones. Thank you for joining me on 12-Minute Convos, where I help you create a brand of your own unique, real self. Listen in as I have conversations with amazing people from all over the world. Good morning, Dave Furness. How are you going on this wonderful, beautiful morning?
I'm doing great, Angel, and it's a pleasure to be talking with you today.
It's definitely a pleasure. A pleasure I treasure, my friend. A pleasure I treasure.
Love it.
So please do tell us, what part of the world are you in right now, Dave?
I am currently in Manchester, United Kingdom.
Oh, sweet. And which of your talents do you believe that you've been operating in that's responsible for us connecting?
I would say it's most likely my e-commerce knowledge, really. It was e-commerce which I got started and led me to starting the two businesses which I now run, and I believe that's where the connection has come through on LinkedIn. So
Interesting. So, okay, I can say that it's a bit of the podcasting part, right? Yeah?
Yep.
That definitely pulled me to you. I'm glad that it's based around your skills. Who did you learn the e-commerce side of things from?
So that was an interesting one. It started out when I was at university. I did a degree in history and politics, which is totally unrelated to anything I do now. But we were obviously had to buy these books, and the bookshop in the campus was really expensive. And back then I was looking on eBay and Amazon and found that these books were a lot cheaper. So back then, this was maybe 11 years ago, I'd sort of seen the benefits of e-commerce and how this could benefit a lot of people. And then after university, I sort of fell accidentally into a role of e-commerce and managed to take a business from largely doing auctions to doing over £1 million a year just on eBay. So it was one of those. It was sort of self-taught, but it all just for whatever reason made sense to me. I got why e-commerce would be a powerful thing even sort of 10 years ago. So yeah, that's probably where it got started. It was I sort of fell into it by accident, but everything just made sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm guessing there's a part of it that intrigues you or gets you up every morning, right? What part of it do you think that is actually?
Well, I mean, back then it was a case of making the world smaller, if that made sense. We take for granted now how easy sort of cross-border trade is. I can send things to America very quickly and vice versa, anywhere around the world. But back then, it wasn't the case. 10 years ago, people in the UK would only buy from people in the UK under the illusion that people wouldn't ship abroad of certain products. So I think back then that was always a key thing for me. I knew that this would be a global thing, but I think more today it's the excitement of how it's constantly changing, how it's we're seeing so much evolution with sort of voice commerce now with the Google the Google Home and the Amazon Echo. I think voice commerce is going to be a fantastic evolution of e-commerce. So yeah, I think for me it's the excitement of what comes next. It's constantly evolving.
I got to listen to your podcast, right? So one of the things that I think that I just connected, right, is that you are a visionary. Like foresight is one of your skills, right? Who did you learn that from?
I don't know. Again, I guess it's a case of I would still say I'm relatively young, but I feel like I've been in e-commerce now for, like I said, about 10 years. And over those 10 years, you begin to spot patterns and the way that things move forward and how things change. And I think as you have that experience, you start to, again, see patterns repeat themselves and see the natural progression. So again, I guess the visionary piece just comes from experience.
Yeah.
When you're in something for so long, you get a feel for the direction it takes, what customers want, and how businesses are going to make it easier for that to happen.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. No, I just keep hearing echoing in my mind in the conversation when you and your co-host were talking about Amazon, and Amazon
Yes.
of course dropped because they were investing heavily, and
Yes.
now the spin-around is there, right? And
Absolutely. Yeah,
uh,
and that was a great example. So many people were worried, like, oh my, Amazon posted a loss in Q2, and it's like, yeah, but they've just invested so much in Singapore, Korea. They're setting up a new headquarters in the US. These things cost money.
yeah.
And then they've just recently posted Q3, and I think profits up 35%, and all of a sudden, I think they posted a profit of $35 billion, and it's like, whoa, okay, it's yeah, don't
That's where the
underestimate
money
Amazon.
went.
They're not going anywhere.
That's where the money went.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, they were just building things. Okay.
That's intriguing. So you're definitely seeing the ups and downs of what any industry could definitely operate by. Somewhere it never turns back, right? And somewhere it does turn. I'd like to know, why will you continue to repeat the skill in that industry, nevertheless?
I think, well, I mean, for me, again, Jack Ma is a very inspirational guy. For any listeners who don't know, Jack Ma is the CEO of Alibaba, which is basically the Amazon of the East. In China, they're huge, and he made a fantastic point by saying, we're in 2017 right now, but we have a huge generation who are still not online. I think about my grandma. My grandma doesn't have an email address. She doesn't, she's never bought on Amazon or eBay. And as we see this generational shift, I've now got godchildren and, nephews who are 4 years old and can work an iPad. This is the generational shift that we're seeing. And we're going to get this, the new generation is going to be growing up with Amazon and eBay as a normal place to shop. Whereas the older generation, the sort of high street generation, are slowly, fading away. So for me, e-commerce is only going to increase over the next 20 years as more people come online. Obviously, Facebook are looking at bringing Wi-Fi to, remote parts of Africa and other places. So as more people come online, and e-commerce booms in more places, I think it's just a natural progression that, there's going to be more choice, more availability. And I think e-commerce isn't going anywhere. And it needs people like me to help the new generation get on board the right way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Where's the best place for people to connect with you, Dave?
The best place is probably one of my businesses right now is esellercafe.com. That's an e-commerce news website. We keep that very updated with all news going on around the world. I'm on Twitter, Dave_Furness. I also have a YouTube channel called The Manco Entrepreneur, where I post different videos on entrepreneurship and e-commerce. So again, any one of those places, I don't tend to be too hard to find.
And he is a lot of fun.
I appreciate that, Angel. I appreciate that.
So tell me one other thing, Dave, that you've done consistently over the last 3 years.
Well, I think obviously building businesses has been the main focus for me over the past 3 years. And that is a very separate skill to e-commerce. I would say I used to be a very impatient person, and I still am to a degree. But building a business definitely teaches you patience to a whole new level. Like, I wanted everything yesterday. And sometimes you have to, love the process, love the journey, and, appreciate that you might not be where you want to be right now. But, you have to, persevere and trust, like I said, trust the process. So I think for me, the one thing that I've done over the past 3 years is just take consistent action in moving towards my goals and trying to better myself, but also help other people. I think that's probably the main thing. Over the past 3 years, I've tried to help as many people as possible in e-commerce, because I think that's where I can give the most value.
How does it make you feel being the guy that has graduated in the patience, acquiring the patience?
I wouldn't say I've mastered it, Angel, I'll be honest, but I'm definitely a lot more patient than I used to be. And I look back now. I mean, I try and mentor a few younger entrepreneurs that I know personally, and I see myself in them, but again, like 3 or 4 years ago, and I can see how impatient they are. And again, I try and pass it on, like, trust me, you just carry on. Like, you may know this, Angel, as well. Like when you creating podcast episodes and when you first started, maybe no one was listening, and it can be very disheartening, and you just have to carry on. The people who lose are the people who quit, and just have to, again, when I started doing like our podcast or our blogging website, when you're posting great content and nobody's reading, it's so easy to want to give up, but you just carry on and you carry on, keep grinding, you keep doing it, and then that's when you start seeing the results.
Definitely love that. Yeah, that's when a guy in Trinidad is listening to your podcast. I mean, think about it. Think about it.
It's incredible.
And enjoying your podcast as well. That's intriguing.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, hey, let's switch gears for a moment now and let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water.
Oh, I'm there, Angel.
Dave, what is your earliest childhood memory?
My earliest childhood memory. I think that would be. I think it was maybe my third birthday party. And I remember there was a bouncy castle, and my grandma at the time was in her 60s, and me and her were bouncing on this bouncy castle, laughing. And it's such a treasured memory for me because I lost my grandma shortly after that, maybe about a year later. So I never really got to know her, or she never got to know me as sort of an adult growing up or anything like that. So I'd say that's for my earliest memory, and it's one of my most treasured memories.
Wow. So you're 3 years old, you're bouncing around with Granny, right? Why do you think this memory sticks out so clearly?
I think I genuinely think it's because my grandma is in it. I think it's one of my most fondest memories of my grandma that I remember, and it just so happens that it was my birthday and 3 years old. I guess as well, I had broken my collarbone a few weeks before, so I had a neck brace on. So I very prominently remember wearing this neck brace, and my mum shouting at me to be careful on this bouncy castle thing. But yeah, I don't know. There's a number of weird things about that memory. But I think it's probably because it's so vivid it was so unusual in not only the people who were involved in it, but the circumstances as well.
Yeah. So. Well, I mean, given the image that you've created for me, can I offer an interpretation to the thought picture?
I'd love it. Yeah.
I love the idea of the online space and the removing of limitations, if you would, that occurred in that bouncy castle because of the dangers that were removed because of the space, if you would. So it's like NASA, or it's like you're in outer space, right? And all of a sudden you become weightless, just like the online space, right? You said it before, right? Like there aren't many boundaries now compared to a very long ago, and to see the age differences, like your grandmother probably could not jump on the bare ground, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then to see you with your neck brace.
Yeah, it's such a weird memory.
Exactly, right? But to see that it was taken away, the limitations, then for just enjoyment, for passing on, if you would, of something. That's beautiful.
I love that. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. If we fast forward to when you were 12 years old, what was your favorite song?
12 years old. That's a great question. I don't actually know. 12 years. 12 years old. What year would that have been? I just started sort of secondary schoolish. I honestly couldn't tell you, Angel.
Yeah,
I can't remember that. I'll be honest. I'm not a huge music person, to be honest. I do like music, but some people are proper die-hard music fans. I've never really been into that too much, but it would have been something terrible, I'm sure.
Well, dear, we've arrived at our destination. But before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form. So it's yes or no, possibly a bit more. We're going to go pretty quickly here. Are you ready, Dave?
Absolutely.
Dave, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
Not one person, no.
Are you married?
Yes.
Do you have children?
No.
Do you believe in God?
No.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Yes.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
No.
How about 3 hours a week?
Yeah, probably 3 hours a week, yeah.
What about screen time, the phone and the computer, is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Probably more.
All right. Love the tone.
I'm giving you, you're just getting brutal honesty right now, Angel.
Yeah, I'm switching now. All right, so after 1,001 conversations in 3 months in 2016, I came up with a workbook, the name of it being called Yours, which stands for your own unique real self. The idea being you answer questions that are reflective, that help you connect to your mission. Your own unique real statement is what I call it, right? Yep. If you had to share with us your own unique real statement, a statement that represents Dave Furness, what would you say that is?
I think my own unique real statement would be to help as many people as possible and not take life too seriously. Remember to enjoy it, because we're here for a good time, not a long time, right?
Yeah. It's like the image, right? Like, despite the pain, despite the struggle, you better get up in that bouncy castle and have some fun.
Absolutely. You bounce as high as you can, and have fun while you're doing it.
Love it. Dear Furness, this was a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
I would just like to thank everybody for listening. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you, Angel.
Hey, same here, my friend. Dave Furness, thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. Stay tuned for more from our advertisers.
Diabetes is a mountain pandemic. It's a disease that's not acute but chronic. Similar to this rhyming method, I have simplified the definition, the signs and symptoms, and the complications of diabetes for both adults and children in my books, Poems for Patients, A Focus on Diabetes, and The ABCs of Diabetes for Children. These books are available on Amazon.com, and for more information, you can visit my website, poemsbyaj.com. That's poemsbyaj.com.